So what do you do if you have no way to brew your coffee at home? Let's take a look. All right, so this is for the kind of funny case where you just don't have a clear way to brew coffee. You don't have some kind of pour over coffee brewer. You don't have a French press or anything like that. You can do this method, of course, if you have all of those things and you want just some really simple method to brew your coffee. I'm just gonna dive in and show you and then talk about it. So this, because it's gonna need to sit for a few minutes. So this is very straightforward. We have a mug. We have ground coffee. Ground coffee goes into the mug and we fill our mug with our hot water. Obviously you don't need this kind of kettle for this. It just happens to be what I have and use. All right, and then we wait. So here's what you need in order to make coffee like this. You obviously need a mug to have the coffee in. You need a way to heat the water and you need the coffee itself. If you have whole bean coffee, hopefully you have a way to grind the coffee. Check out I have another video where I talk about grinding coffee at home when you don't have a coffee grinder. It's not the easiest thing in the world, but it is possible with some cleverness and tenacity. You can grind your own coffee without a coffee grinder. Obviously I have equipment here, so I'm using that just for the ease of demonstration. But this is for the case where you don't have a way to brew coffee. You just need to make a cup. Maybe you have some pre-ground coffee and you want to use it up. This method is basically pulling on the cupping protocol. So this is the process that professional coffee tasters use to smell and taste and evaluate coffee's aroma. And it's done not in this style of mug, a different style of mug, but it's done in a mug where you add the grounds and then you add the water. When you have the coffee, and then you have the coffee brewing like this for a few minutes, just a full immersion brew. Then you break the crust and you smell it, and then you let it cool a little bit more, and then you taste it. We're not doing all that evaluative type stuff, but we're just taking the simple, let the coffee brew in a cup, and then after it cools off, as it cools off, the grounds will sink. And when the grounds have sunk to the bottom, you have most of the mug filled with coffee you can just drink. No need to have any kind of pour over system. You don't need fancy kettles. Don't need filters, anything like that. You can just have coffee like this. Of course, it's easier if you have a coffee brewer to have a cleaner cup of coffee because you will run into grounds, but you know what? Sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Okay, now the process I use for this, the important thing I think is to have a consistent ratio. So use the same amount of coffee to the same amount of water. A cup like this, 6 to 8 ounces of water. I basically have kind of approximated 12 grams of coffee to 200 grams of water just to make things easy. I got a little more of each in here, and having that kind of wiggle room I think is fine. You just want it to be consistent brew to brew, because then you're going to dial in assuming you can change your grind size, you're going to dial in by adjusting your grind size. If you can't change your grind size, then you're going to dial in by changing how much coffee is in there. So those are the two things you control. The nice thing, if you're using the same mug, the amount of water that's in there is basically the same. So you add your grounds, you add your water, and then you let it sit for a few minutes. Maybe you can talk to a camera while you're letting your coffee brew. Or just do something else, make your breakfast, just let it sit for a few minutes, just like an immersion kind of brew thing. You'll notice when you do that, when you do this method, you'll notice kind of like this sort of crust forming on top. We'll call it the crust in coffee cupping. And I'm going to say that this is brewed long enough, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to push that down. And you'll see foam stay on top, but I'm just going to kind of push it down, swirl along the edge, and then I'm going to let that settle. Just give it a little bit more nudge. Basically, I want the grounds that are on top to sink to the bottom. Just grabbing a second cup here for the ease of the demonstration so I can rinse this guy off. Once the grounds have settled, and the longer you wait, the more they'll settle. I'm actually going to come in here, and I would recommend doing this. You don't have to. Personally, I like coffee better without, like immersion coffee, I like it better without this layer of foam and oils on top. That really only adds body. Like if you compare the two, you'll notice like a difference as far as how the coffee like feels in your mouth. But it doesn't really add anything in terms of taste, other than potentially bitterness. And I always find my cup of coffee to be cleaner when I take it out. Okay, so let's say this is sat for a few minutes. It's probably still quite hot because I don't want to wait too much longer just for the demonstration of this video. But then you can just drink your coffee. Yeah, that's really good. I haven't had this particular coffee as immersion yet. This is Passion House Coffee's LSD blend, which I've had on the, oh, that's really tasty. Like honestly, you can get a really good brew out of this. And this is why I want to share this method, because you don't have to have fancy equipment in order to brew coffee well. It comes down to the fundamentals of how much coffee to water you're using, the grind, if you have control over that, can help you dial in the taste, the quality of the coffee, the temperature of the water, and the quality of the water as well, which I've talked about a number of times on the video. I use filtered water here. You could use spring water. Tap water often, I think, has problems. Here I have issues with chlorine in the tap water, so I filter it and then I have a good brew. Yeah, but this is quite delicious. Yeah, really good. So the way I would drink this, I would drink this carefully. You obviously don't want to stir this up because the grounds have settled to the bottom. So just drink off the top. Eventually, yes, you're going to run into some coffee grounds in your mug, and you're just done drinking, and it's fine. So even though I'm brewing up to here-ish, I'm getting about that much coffee to drink out of this. So it's not a completely full mug, but it's delicious, and to me that's perfectly fine. Also, it's super easy. All I did was put grounds and water in here. So, whew, that's still hot. All right. So that's brewing coffee straight into a mug. If you haven't tried it and you want to try something lazy, I highly recommend. You can make a really delicious cup. It's good stuff. And if you don't have a fancy coffee brewer or any kind of coffee brewer, maybe you're stuck with a pod coffee machine, order yourself some coffee. Ask for it. I would say just ground medium. A medium grind is fine for this, and try it out. I think you might be surprised at the results. Could be a fun way to try out something new without going too crazy. So if you have any questions about this process, what I'm doing here, and actually I've tried to explain it as clearly as I can. Please do let me know if there's something that doesn't make sense, or if I've glossed over something or missed a point that you would like clarity on. Just comment below, and I'll of course be happy to respond. I can always make a follow-up video if I need to clarify something. It's just a super simple way to brew a good cup. So again, if you have questions, comment below. Please do subscribe and don't miss out on any of the other videos I got going on. I should probably have a whole series of different ways to brew coffee at home in unusual ways. I'm kind of doing a little project with that right now. So I'll probably put these in a series and you can check out the others. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.